What's up? Steven Sickles coming at you with Rev'd Up GarageCast. My main man Mark on my left, Eddie on my right. And today we have a special guest for the first time, TJ McCullough, Mr. Undertaker. We're going to talk about how he became the Undertaker first. He's going to give us a little bit of background about that. TJ, why did they call you the Undertaker?
So when I was growing up, my brother was my hero. Everything that he did, I wanted to be just like him. He started out painting his car checkerboard, just like your table here, and called himself Checkmate because he said he was always good at making decisions and putting people in bad positions. That didn't work out for him because we had no idea what we were doing. The cars kept shutting off. He wanted a new name, so he ended up going with the Stone Cold car, Austin 316. Got a Fans' Choice Awards for driving hard. That didn't work out because he still wasn't winning, doing anything really good. So he said, I want something that's a little bit more intimidating because of how I drive. So he went with the Reaper, which is why we run the Reaper as the hard driving award for our Deadman shows. And when I was trying to go through my names, I actually started out as the Nemesis, which means your enemy. Then I went with the Rattler. I painted my car like a snake, and it had a rattle, and it had a actual forked tongue sticking out the front.
I could see that for sure.
Oh yeah. I got in trouble so many times because people thought like I was gonna like puncture tires with my like tinfoil forked tongue sticking out the front of my Rattler car, and that just didn't work out for me. I wanted a new name. I wanted to start with something different, and my brother looked at me and he's like, "You need something like, aggressive and something." Well, I was always a wrestling fan, so my mom came to me and she's like, "Well, what about the Undertaker? That's your favorite wrestler." And not to mention, the Reaper, the Undertaker, he digs the hole, you bury him. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I did that, went out and got a name for myself with the aggressive driving. And I know, calm down, people, like nothing recently. I know you haven't seen anything recently.
I've seen anything.
But back in the day, I stood a lot of Mopars up, and I ran some Imperials pretty hard back in the day, compacts back in the day. And, I don't drive that way anyway. Right now, but I definitely still have that in me. Look forward to showing people and reminding them.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us, we talked about last episode, Eddie, he used to strictly drive like that. Then this year he sort of turned a leaf and tried to drive smarter. You get through different stages of your career. Even I, when I was younger, ran a little bit harder. I know that's hard to believe. Although I don't know that Mark's ever ran harder.
No.
Done it one time.
Ever. One time.
Not once.
Do you have a Mad Dog or a Reaper or a Hellraiser at all?
I do it. Yeah, no, I did it twice. I have a Hellraiser. I got a Hellraiser last year.
What's that?
Oh, yeah. You have one. I forgot about that.
Yeah. That's all.
Okay. That was by accident, guys.
Yeah.
No one else. There was two cars and the other car stalled.
Power wheel derbies do not count, right?
I had to clean the show up for you. You won that show.
I did win that show.
But yeah, that's where I kind of got the
I'm going to talk about what you did the majority of that show.
It don't matter who you hit.
Mark is a firm believer in finding the weakest car.
I like it.
So we're going to move on from that. You also run a number that seems to be important to you, 413.
Yeah, so I run 4:13, and it represents my favorite Bible verse, which is Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. I definitely don't shy away from the fact that I do have a strong faith, and it's very important to me, from my driving to my life to how I raise my kids, and then also how I represent myself in front of the future of our sport and to the drivers. And people think that you got to be perfect as a Christian, and I like to show people that you can still have fun, you still can make mistakes, you should just try not to. And I try to be a good example for, like I said, my kids who will be in the sport, and maybe your nephew for some reason likes how I drive and wants an autograph, just how I go and I sign that, or how I speak to him, or how I represent myself. I mean, we definitely in this sport have a lot of rough parenting going on, and a lot of rough, kids that are going down a different path, and I want to try to be a little bit of a different example, just at least give them a different option. But it's very important to me. So yeah, 413 has been my number for, I'd say, probably about 5 or 6 years now. I battled around with 3, 13, 17, all these different numbers, and that's the one that I really wanted people to see it. And I get a lot of questions about it, which gives me a chance to then explain that.
Yeah, and I mean, I really like it. I know me and Mark come more from a background that's into that kind of stuff, and Eddie's one of them guys that he doesn't necessarily care either way.
Yeah.
So, that being said, though, that doesn't mean that you have to have bad morals. Even if you aren't religious, to have this presented in front of you, it still could be a verse that can mean something to you. And I do like that about that number.
Well, it's what's cool about that, just to touch on it, is that, like, yes, you don't have to be, like, I don't know, you don't have to be, like, throwing it in people's face. I think that's why a lot of people don't like Christians, because a lot of Christians, like, throw it in your face and they force it down your throat. I just like it to be there. I want, the one thing I never, ever want anybody to go, oh, wait, you're a Christian? That's, like, the biggest insult that I could have to me. You know what I mean? I want people to go, yeah, he's a good dude. You know, he's got strong faith. You know, like, I like what he's doing. Things are going well for me. I strongly believe that the success that I've had in my life and, you know, my family, my wife, my career now is because of my unconditional faith. I really do believe that. So it's an example, and maybe it works out for you. If it doesn't, then hey.
Yeah. So moving on, this episode is more about bringing you in and bringing a guest in. So you talked about reapers. You talked about your brother was the reaper. You talked about his aggressive driving. Most places are mad dogs, hellraisers. Even this year we heard about some hammers.
Yeah.
What do you feel separates the reapers?
So I've definitely seen, I highly respect all these awards. I have gone after a few of them in the past, fell short of a few Mad Dogs. I would love to have each one of these awards hanging in my garage because I think they're all very special and important. What I want to define is, dude, that's a guy you got to stay away from. Like, that's the dude you don't want one-on-one. Like, this guy is the one that 15 years from now, like, let's just use Andrew Myers for an example because we all know Andrew's. Yeah. He's a hellraiser. He's a hammer. He's a mad dog. Yeah. He's a reaper. Like, he is. Like, 15, 20 years from now when Andrew maybe is done, maybe there's an Andrew Myers award. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like, that's where we're going.
There used to be, locally, I don't know if these guys know, there used to be the Whitman hard-hitting award, and he was a driver that in the past drove hard.
I think I got a couple of them.
Yeah, Crouchers used to do that. So
right there.
So that's what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to bring a light into the guys that just truly want to put on a show, that don't necessarily care about cashing the check. They just want to put the fans on their feet. And I think what we really go through with our Reaper Award is that you can't just earn it right away. Like, even when we ran our Reaper heats up there at Day of the Dead, where you guys were tag team champs, by the way, when we did that, we did not stop it until 2 minutes. There's a lot of guys that go out and win Mad Dogs and Hellraisers and things like that they get that in the first minute and a half. They blow their car away, and then 20, 30 minutes go by, and people forget about it almost. They're like, well, it's been 25 minutes since that happened. And then what ends up happening is that reward gets given to somebody else who maybe makes 14 pretty good hits instead of the 4 really big hits. So we tell people, we're not just going to give it to you because you're blowing your car apart, like stupid hits. We don't just want to see sheet metal. We want to see you twisting frames. We want to see you rattle that guy's helmet a little bit.
Absolutely.
Like, we want to see big, hard, smart hits too. So that kind of like closes that in. So if some people go from one end to the other and rip the front of their car off and hit somebody in the back end, sometimes we're not even counting that. If that makes sense.
I like that.
Yeah. And that's portrayed something that I've said for years about Demolition Derby. People always ask at this point in my game, like, why don't I drive harder? Don't I miss that? When you're talking about that guy that does the one shot, anyone can do that to me. And I don't want to take discredit away from the people that have the fortitude to do that, because, I don't want to do that at this point in my life. And that is great entertainment value. But it doesn't take the skill set that a true reaper, to me, needs to be able to preserve and stay on top of the competition.
Well, you've seen guys like Mike Klinger comes to mind, where Tiffany Hahn, obviously, as well. We've seen it at Bash for Cash, where they go out and not only do they win, but they also take the Mad Dog home. It takes a very skilled driver to be able to win both the Aggressive Driving Award, not tear your car up, and still have enough to get the job done and win. And it's not because the cars are so overbuilt or cheated or anything like that. It's just they're hitting smart and hard. They hit to break.
Oh, they are also putting a little bit more thought into the process of what cars can take the abuse and give out the abuse, to where that guy with the one hit could be running I'll use the classes out at Bash for an example. They were running the suicides, the caddies, and guy number B might be just running a 4 that he threw together in 8 hours, and it can only handle 3 of them hard hits. So
Yeah, but if you remember, I believe it was 2018 or 17, one of those two years, I believe. The third place car was a suicide that they rolled together.
oh yeah,
You know,
I
they
remember
finished the
that.
Derby by rolling that red suicide over. You
Yeah,
know,
that
so I
was
mean,
awesome.
like, I don't know. To me, it's about separation. Like, yeah, I don't make fun of the Mad Dogs, but what I always say is, Reapers, they walk Mad Dogs on a leash. I mean that because if you put a true Reaper, a guy that's really, not a Mark Metz, but like a real Reaper that's really defined himself as a
knew that
known
was
Reaper
coming.
in the ring with 4 other Mad Dogs, he's going to stand out. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, I don't see that in Mark Metz.
No, not at all.
He thought he was there once.
And he may have been. I don't shy away from the fact that Deadman's not perfect. We do make mistakes. I did go back and watch the footage, and we don't give out participation trophies or anything like that. But I do believe that it's pretty positive that Mark should have gotten that Reaper award that night.
I appreciate
Wow,
that.
Yeah,
I
that's
appreciate
a
big
that.
statement.
I've gone back. I've looked at the footage and everything like that. So maybe we'll get you like a little mini one or
Now,
something.
if
like
you
that.
look at our whiteboard, it was to make fun of Mark, and now Mark's head is swollen.
Yeah, I see
to a
the
point. I don't know.
He's swollen it so much we're starting to get feedback through his mic.
Yeah, always Mark. Always.
I never even touched it. This core's messed up, dude. I don't know what to tell you.
It's live television, man.
Gotta edit this out.
Okay.
Just mute me. This cord's fucked up.
Just mute him one time and see if it's still there.
It's yours too. That's what we got. That's both of you. I mean, that's Mark's. Yours is good.
I think we're good.
Yeah, that's Mark's.
Freeze.
Episode 1, it didn't do it like this.
No.
There you go. There we go.
All right, don't touch the table.
Okay.
I didn't touch shit last time.
No one's muted. We're all good.
Where are we at?
I'm about to clap.
We were making fun of you.
It
It was a
went
good
from
time.
making
Good
fun
time
of
for it to
Mark.
happen.
Good time for it to happen.
Yeah.
All right, so we're in the middle of picking on Mark, and we had a little bit of technical difficulty, so we're back at it. We talked about the Reapers and the Mad Dogs. We want to talk about Deadman in 2023. It seems progressively that promoters are getting pushed to have their stuff together earlier and earlier into the off season, and I know not just us, but there's a lot of people eager to know what is going to become of it. And you don't got to give everything. You don't got to talk about the whole year. What do you want to tell us?
So just to touch on that just for a second, we do have a large majority of followers that are last minute builders. We do have a large majority of people that it doesn't matter if I put this show out 4 years ago. They're going to wait until 2 months to start to build. Right, we're raising hand. I'm myself. I'm the same. I'm the same
I'm
thing.
guilty of it a lot of the time.
What
done
we
it.
found, and this is kind of weird. What we found is that when we put a show out and have about a 7-month downtime period, the momentum's really hard to keep for the show. One, that's me trying to continuously promote that, but I got to remember, well, I can't keep promoting Buried Alive when Day of the Dead's here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So what I wanted to try to do, and Frankie Guy was really good in saying, man, he goes, you're going and going and going and going. He goes, you're eventually going to wear out. And he was right. The last 2 weeks of Buried Alive 1, I had nothing to say. I was like, oh my gosh, I've said everything 1,000 times. So like, I like being able to like drop little things and little hints and everything like that we're doing over the course of 2 months and staying fresh and not being on there 24/7. But the biggest thing that we found with that is the percentage of cars that register versus the percentage of cars that show up was a pandemic last year. Like, I talked to Frankie and Steve and other promoters about how many guys are registered for your show, and let's just say they said 200, then you get 115 to show up. That's only maybe like a 60% population actually showing up. We were able to get that number around 78% for Buried Alive. 78% of 430 drivers is a great car count.
Pretty good.
It is. Typically it is around 65%, something like that. And I do believe that it is attributed to when you registered for Buried Alive, you were serious about it. Because everybody gets into this like, oh, I'm running Buried Alive next year. Oh, I'm running Bash for Cash next year. I'm going to sign up in November for Bash for Cash. Then it's a bad winter. Then you forget that you got to pay for Christmas. You got to pay for all the New Year's. You're going to these parties. You're doing this kind of stuff. It's the off season, so everybody's trying to unload cars. So you're buying 5-10 cars, and all of a sudden it's a late winter. It rains all the time, and you're like, okay, now it's April and I have to build a car. And that's what loses people, through those builds. So we are getting ready to drop our stuff first of the year. We wanted to let people get through Christmas and New Year's, but we are getting ready to drop No Mercy 3. It's going to be at the Fayette County Fairgrounds. We are waiting for our contract to come in to sign that, which is why we haven't dropped the actual date of that. But one of the big news items on the docket this year is we're scaling back on the amount of shows we're doing this year. We're going to go back down to 3 shows only, and this is a huge announcement for a lot of other people. I'm going to have a lot of phone conversations before this airs. So we're moving back to 3 shows. We're going to be doing No Mercy, Day of the Dead, and Buried Alive 4, which is crazy already to think 4 of those. So No Mercy 3, a whole different attitude coming back. But the cool thing about that is this year we're going to go ahead and move that to a 3-day event. So we're going to have 2 big national shows here on the East Coast this year for No Mercy 3 and Buried Alive 4. So that's going to be cool. But as far as where we're heading, I mean, I'm sure, I got some compact guys sitting in front of me. I think you might be a little interested in the specific.
We've talked and bickered about a few things about it. There's 2 different points that I'd like to get onto No Mercy, but I wanted to leave it up to you on what you want to release.
Yeah.
So
we can talk team show if you'd like.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to talk team show, we'll talk team show. So a couple weeks ago, I posted a format on my Facebook, 1-on-1 down to the end. And next morning, TJ's calling me. He's like, first, why'd you post? No, I'm kidding. But we went into it, and I expressed why I felt that would be awesome from the driving standpoint, from the standpoint of I feel that me and my guys, whether it be the team that I normally run with, whether I be that addition, I feel that I'm going to beat whoever's in front of me. So I really like the idea of 1-on-1, and you have to beat the next person to move on. You lose, you're not in contention.
Yeah.
Now I do feel, for the sake of the show, you would need a nice B pool. You would need a bracket below that. TJ had an idea that was a little bit different. I'll let him discuss that. Not far apart, but I mean working towards sort of what I liked, but different. I'm going to let him discuss that and sort of give you guys the information. And then actually Eddie and Mark don't know the full details, so we're going to get their natural reaction.
Yeah.
Oh, you did that on purpose, huh?
Yeah, I like that because
Yeah, you're supposed to tell me everything. I'm your best friend.
I didn't tell you shit.
Y'all don't tell me nothing, so I don't want to hear it.
well, one of the cool things about that is that I think it's important to not try to pat myself on the back, but I think it's important the fact that I do reach out, and you're not the only person I talk to about that format, is because I want to know what do the drivers want, and just because Steven comes up with an idea or something doesn't mean that I'm like, hey, yeah, I'm going to go with what Steven says, or what someone in the sport that has a lot of ideas and maybe a part of a different country. Does that idea appeal to the guy in the Midwest? Does that idea appeal to the guy in the South? Because we try to pull from New York, we try to pull from the South, and we try to pull from the Midwest. So it's hard for us to just say, hey, this is going to be how it is. Because we see that in a lot of our other classes, that rule sets don't necessarily go too well drawing the Ohio guys over here, the Illinois guys over here for our big car classes. So we got to find that one thing that fits, right? So in the past, we've done 16 teams. You win, you're in the feature. I hate that. I absolutely hate that. And I tell you why I hate it is because there's always that one team that registers just a little bit faster than a team that maybe is a little bit more deserving to be in there. And you draw that team and they're so #underbuilt. And you
Luck
know,
of the draw.
yeah, you get that luck of the draw, and you didn't have, and that is again, it's the luck of the draw. It is, but from a promoter side, it's almost like a free ticket to the feature, and I hate that. I hate free tickets to the feature. So what we wanted to do with this styling that we're doing and what I call like the group staging is we want to create a little bit more atmosphere and a little bit more build up to the actual team show itself, and then add elements into it to make it a little bit more interesting as you go. We want you to have to go over to the bracket, look at the bracket and go, oh, we got them. Oh boy. We want you to sit at the draw and be like, please we don't want to pull the saggy bottom boys.
So are you going to do a draw?
We are going to do a draw. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to accept 16 teams. This year's going to be a 4-man team format, which is a little different than the Joker 3-man team. So we're going to do four cars. Okay, now you're going to have to stick with me a little bit because it's going to change a little bit. And this is the first time that we've publicly talked about this style and format that we do. I don't want to say format because I don't know if Triple D has that, trademarked in or whatnot. But so anyway, we'll just say this style is a little different. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw 16 teams registration. So you register, you get your 16 teams. Then we're going to do a live draw where we draw 4 groups. Like let's just call it group A, B, C, and D, where each group will end up with 4 teams. So let's say each of us have a team. Our group all draws.
Yeah, we'll just make us all 4 the captains.
Yeah, we're all 4 captains. Our 4 teams all draw group B. Okay, so on Friday, we're going to kick off the show with our Joker team Heat 1s. So I have to do a round robin with all 3 of your teams. Okay, so what happens is it's kind of like the World Cup. I know none of you guys watch soccer, but it's the group stage of soccer is what it is. We all play a round robin. You get 3 points for a victory, 0 points for a loss, straight up. There's no possibility to tie in our sport, which is awesome. So you don't have to worry about that. It's going to be very defined and clear who the top 2 teams from each group are. The top 2 teams from our group go to the feature. So that's how you qualify. So I have to score, in my opinion, probably 6 points out of your 3 teams. So I have to beat 2 of your teams. So maybe I look at Steven's team and I'm like, I can't beat Steven's team. It's too strong. But I'm going to go all in, and I'm going to explain how you can go all in on making sure I can beat Eddie's team and Mark's team to get those 6 points. And there's going to be some different strategies that you can use to do that. And one of the biggest strategies is that it's a 4-card team show, but at no point in time until the feature are you allowed to have more than 3 of your team on the track. So if we are 4 team members, you get 3 team members and what we refer to as a joker. This is a shout out to my dear friend Kevin Beers that we lost a couple years back. And I know that he would love this idea. So this idea, after Heat 1, you can unleash the Joker. The Joker can come in with all of his fix-it plates and all of his wires fresh. You do not have to unleash the Joker, but you do not get to run all 4 cars at the same time. So at any point in time, you get 3 cars on the track. So you get to decide. So this could be like, so Mark goes out and because he's a Reaper, he goes out and blows his car apart in Heat 1 to try to beat, your team. Okay, so now he has a lot of time to fix his car and might not be able to get it ready for Heat 2 on Friday night. So you're going to unleash the Joker. So the Joker comes out, and now you have these 3. You have time to get your car ready. You guys get that heat done, and then your car might still be hurt too much. The Joker might have cleaned it out. You guys have a fresh car. You might be able to keep your car and wait it for Heat 3 on Saturday day. You know what I'm saying? So It's like it gives the opportunity, because we asked you guys to drive super hard in those heats. And last year we were dropping subs out of cars in the first minute of these heats, and we're not going to let you have the full track. Last year we absolutely destroyed cars in 30 seconds because we do want the guys to drive hard, but we also want them to be able to hold it up. So we're gonna.
I just don't think you have that track's too big for the number of cars. I mean,
it is, yeah,
especially 3.
And it's a square. That's the other thing is people don't realize that it's not a square. Let's call it a square because it's not the typical county fair rectangle we get. So you can get a hard shot side to side and long ways.
Yeah, there's enough room that from both directions
right.
you can give it to someone.
So that's the format that we're going to do this time around. I'd love to get your thoughts on it as far as what elements that brings.
I like the 4-car, but only being able to use 3. And I think it'll help the guys afterwards.
Just get closer.
So-
out
Just
there.
get a little closer.
No.
So you like the idea that you can only have 3. I tell you what, the other thing that I really like is I've always kind of liked watching kind of like the turmoil between the teams themselves too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the whole divide and conquer kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like imagine Steven coming up and being like, dude, Mark, why'd TJ pick Eddie to run? Why wasn't it you? You know, like kind of like get in there a little bit, like, you know, like you're not going to put, it does give you a situation like, so maybe you match up a little bit better with the other team with these 3 guys versus these 3 guys. And that's something you're going to have to make the decision. And if you make the wrong decision, it may cost you a chance at going to the feature. But what it does do is it guarantees that you're going to run 3 heats. So every team out there is going to get to run 3 times.
Right.
And I think that's something that's huge for me as a driver when I register. I'm driving all the way to South Carolina this year, 9 hours. I might go in there, get stuck on the wall, and be out in 30
You
seconds.
still get your track time. So
Yeah, I'm going to get my track time at No Mercy if I'm in that team show.
One thing I like about it with the 3-man running at once out of the 4 cars, there's so much more strategy, like you were saying, between the teams. And it can be as much as making the other team guess what you're going to do. And I was just sitting here thinking that, like, boy, I'd want to hold that Joker as long as I possibly can.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't want the other team to necessarily know that you're not going to use that Joker, because if you aren't, they might to beat you. So,
Right.
that being said, is how many teams you're going to see lining up all 4 cars and no one knows until they pull on that track
Ooh,
Mhm.
what
Ooh.
3 are coming in.
I like it. You know, you just have to pull 3 on. You can pull 4 to staging. But
Yeah.
you just
That's
have
what
to
I'm-
pull,
that's what I'm
you,
getting at.
I mean, that's gamesmanship, and I like that. And what I like, the whole thing that I like about this is from day one when I started Deadman, is that I wanted this to happen. I didn't want you to show up to my show. This is what we do. We hop in a car, we get in the car, we go. We run, we win, we lose, we don't, we get out, we shake hands, we go home. That's a typical derby. We've seen that show before. I want you thinking. I want you not knowing when the mercenaries coming in. I want you not knowing when we're going to let the Reapers in late. I want you to try to have to figure out when's the best time to use a Joker. You know, we already got 3 points. We got a weaker team. Let's save the Joker for the 3rd heat. But all of a sudden, now we have car trouble. One of my cars loses a transmission, and now we're 3-on-2 in that heat.
And they pulled their Joker.
And they
So,
pulled their Joker.
They have
And
a
like
fresh
things
car.
can change so quick, you know. And yeah, save your Joker all you want, but you don't get to drive in the feature unless you make it there. So, you know, you got to get through that group stage to get to the big feature. And it is, you know, it's $12,000 to win this time. So now it's going to be $3,000 per person. You know, that's an upgrade of $1,000 per person this year. So we're really excited about it. Just something different.
So what's your thoughts on it, Mark?
I like it a lot. I mean, the mind games that's going to go into that is frightening, I guess you'd say.
He got all that head. He got a lot of brain in there, or does he?
Probably not.
But yeah, I mean, that's a big thing, especially if both teams pull up to the staging area with all 4 cars. I mean, you don't know who. I mean, what do you what do you do at that point either, though? Like, do you have to have them? Do you have to have 2 entrances and pull on at the same time? Because obviously, if that other team pulls their Joker in there, or if they don't pull their Joker in there and you throw your Joker in there, you have the upper hand.
I think I'm already visioning 8 cars sitting side by
understand what I'm
side,
saying?
and we bring you on one by one.
Yeah,
so it
like,
almost could even
that's
change
Yeah.
as like I need somebody from Team A now, somebody from Team B now, and it might change. Steven's in the car. Mark, shut it down.
Yeah.
Shut it down. You know, like no, we're sending the Reaper on.
They're usually happy.
Yeah, you know, it's like it could change, and it just could. And I can hear Mark Elliott. You know, are they going to bring this
Oh,
guy
I
in? They're
can
going to
hear
do
him
this.
getting
And, you
amped
know,
up
oh,
as
here
we
comes the
speak.
Joker. You know,
Yeah.
like
So we weren't sure if we were going to have enough content for 2 episodes out of TJ. We are going to stop right here because we have more than enough for episode 1 already. We still have a few topics we're going to talk about, and we're going to be right back with episode 2. This is all Rev'd Up GarageCast. My main man Mark, Eddie, Steven, TJ. Make sure to like and follow us on all socials.